Last weekend we go 1-1 on the dog of the night plays. Obviously in the UFC, there was only one underdog that won, and it was Ilia Topuria. Unfortunately, we had Brendan Habedo, who had a very solid start. He hurt Ming Yang a few times, but it was Ming Yang who eventually landed that seminal blow to cause the fight to be finished by knockout. Again, very tough card to pick an underdog considering only one of them won, and it was a competitive fight until obviously Topuria was able to put him out cold in the second round there. The KSW dog of the night did end up hitting for us as Kasper Koziorzewski was able to get the decision victory over his opponent. I believe it was Viktor Servinsky. Very happy with the veteran performance that Koziorzewski was able to put on there, and we were able to cash a ticket, come out on the green side for dog of the night plays, and that gets us closer to the black here. Obviously, we have had a little bit of a rough run for the most part, but we are now 5-8 for minus 0.4 units, so pretty much in the black, minus 3% ROI. Hopefully we can get that fully into the green this weekend with, again, we got 5 cards that I'll be breaking down this weekend, 5 dog of the night plays, but this segment is strictly for the UFC dog of the night candidates that I have for you guys. Reminder, I will be dropping a PFL versus Bellator champs breakdown, full card breakdown for the public, so make sure you guys check out the YouTube page if you're watching this on, later Wednesday or on later on in the week, and then obviously a ton of other regional events I'll be covering strictly on the Patreon page, ACA 171, Cage Warriors 166, LFA 177. A ton of work for your boy this week, so make sure you guys check out all the great content on the Lock of the Night Patreon page. Where are you going to find which dog of the night candidate that I'm about to tell you guys which one is going to be the official one? You can also find that on the Lock of the Night Patreon page. Link for that in the description below. All right, let's get right into this 3 candidates that I got for you guys. First is going to be Christian Quinones, who comes in at plus 150 as he goes up against Raoni Barcelos. Now, if you guys have been following me long enough, you guys know I have an admiration for Raoni Barcelos. I thought this guy was going to be a top 5 bantamweight. I thought he was going to be one of the hardest opponents for people to defeat, but now he finds himself 1-4 in his last 5 fights. He's about to be 37. He's starting to slow down a little bit, and I believe the speed disadvantages he's finding himself at in a lot of these fights are the reasoning he's starting to lose these matchups. Obviously, he's a nasty Muay Thai striker. He has nasty kicks, and he has a great wrestling game as well that he can rely on, but it's his inability to keep up with opponents, which is why I think that Quinones will be able to kind of not have his way with him, but he should be able to get the better of Barcelos if he's able to utilize his speed, his footwork, and his long-range weapons here. We obviously saw Quinones have solid success against Kyung Ho Kong last time around, but learned a very harsh lesson as he got a little bit too eager to find the finish after he hurt Kang. Kang was able to counter effectively drop Quinones and then eventually find the submission after that, but I still believe Quinones, 27 years old, is still a growing fighter that can go out there and showcase he deserves amongst the UFC's bantamweights. I really like Quinones in the spot to go out there and give Barcelos the type of style that Barcelos struggles with. Guys that can fight at range, use their speed and use their footwork, and stay away from the pocket exchanges, which is where Barcelos has been so successful. I'm hoping Quinones' takedown defense will hold up long enough that if Barcelos chooses to use his wrestling, he will be unsuccessful in doing so, which is why I like Quinones at plus 150. The second dog of the night candidate I have is going to be Jesus Aguilar, who comes in at plus 140. He's going up against Matias Mendonça. Mendonça, obviously a solid Muay Thai striker, has some decent speed, good kicks, and good combinations, but I think he's a fighter similar to other guys of his frame and his fighting style, like a Clayton Rodriguez, that will suffer from cardio issues, especially if they're unable to get early finishes. Aguilar is a guy that trains at elevation and trains close to Mexico City, and I believe his cardio advantage will allow him to go out there and really put a pace and pressure on Mendonça, stop the early threat of either submissions or the striking that's coming his way, and then implement his own style of heavy punching power or even a grinding grappling game from the top position. I think at plus 140, he is a solid spot to go out there and upset the Brazilian by either knocking him out late or just grinding him out all the way to the scorecards. I think Aguilar is better than people are leading him on to be, and I think he'll showcase that this weekend. The third and final lock or dog of the night candidate for you guys is going to be the Scottishman Chris Duncan, who comes in at plus 145 as he takes on lethal finisher Manuel Torres. Now, Torres is a guy that's gone out there and finished all of his UFC opponents thus far, but this is a guy that just smells of a early finish or bust type of fighter. You see it in even the fights that he's winning, that he whiffs a lot of his shots and he's falling over himself when he's throwing these strikes because he's trying so hard to knock his opponents out. And you can see him starting to breathe. You can see him starting to slow down. But luckily for him, the guys he's been going up against have had questionable durability. Now, Duncan is a guy that potentially has questionable durability, as he really took a shit kicking from Vyacheslav Borshev a couple years back on the Contender series. Charlie Campbell almost had him out a couple years back as well, but Duncan was able to bounce back and get the knockout victory in his own right. But it's really his maturity and ability to mix the whole martial arts game together that has made him so successful in the UFC thus far. I attribute that wholly to the fact that he's lined up with the American Top Team, folks. His ability to mask his takedowns and grappling attempts behind his striking has allowed him to be more successful. And I believe he's going to be able to do that here against Manuel Torres. Again, the first 2 to 3 minutes is going to be gut-wrenching. It's going to be very tough. It's going to be tough. Torres is a finisher. Torres is a guy that produces a lot of power when he goes out there and throws down. But Duncan is educated in the striking game, and I think now that with his improvements in the grappling game, he should be able to mix this fight up enough that it's going to cause Torres to slow down, and then Duncan could start to take over and possibly finish this in the second or third rounds. I get it. Torres is a guy that trains at elevation, so you would expect him to have a solid gas tank. That is not always the case. You have to watch the tape to realize whether it's true or not. And a lot of his fights have been finishing early, but if you really look at the fights, and even the fight that he last lost, which was by heel hook, you can tell, this is a guy that's been relying heavily on his knockout power and hasn't really been refining the rest of his game or trying to figure out a way to portion out his gas tank the best. And I think he's fighting the most complete fighter he's fought to date in Chris Duncan, and we'll see that come to fruition here. So Duncan plus 145, worth a shot in my opinion. Which of these three did I go as my official dog of the night play? Make sure you guys check out the Lock of the Night Patreon page. Again, link for that in the description below. And I'll either see you guys later today for the PFL versus Bellator breakdown or tomorrow for the Locky Two-Step / Locky Trinity, which is on absolute fire. Appreciate all the love and support, and I'll see you guys then. Peace.